Welcome to another tale from the Wasteland, where myths of the old world collide with the ashes of the new. Today, we explore what would happen if King Kong, yes, the Titan himself, entered the Fallout universe and faced its endless corruptions and factions. Imagine the mighty ape surviving the Great War's fire, his body twisted by radiation and FEV until he becomes something beyond beast or god. Picture him standing against Liberty Prime, the Brotherhood, and an entire world built on ruin. Would he protect humanity or become its final ruler? This is the story of King Kong, the guardian of the Wasteland. And if you genuinely enjoy this kind of dark storytelling, consider subscribing and liking the channel, but only if it truly resonates with you. I was on the Nordhagen Pier when the fog rolled in from the harbour. It swallowed the bridge, muffled the turrets, and then the water rose in a single wall. A head lifted with it. Brown fur slick with salt and oil. Eyes that looked like they remembered fire. He was taller than the ruined cranes. He was silent, except for breath that sounded like a broken reactor. It wasn't a behemoth or a Deathclaw. The old world had a name for him. Kong. The first step cracked the pier. The second rattled every bottle cap in my pockets. The third woke a hidden nest of mirelurks in the rocks. They boiled up in a clicking swarm, and Kong met them with one swing. Shells shattered and claws snapped, the water flashing red. He didn't roar. He worked, like a man hauling rope, fast and sure. Then he looked at us. We froze. One settler dropped his rifle. Another whispered a prayer to Atom. Kong scanned the roofs, the broken skyline, the bridge of iron bones. He saw the green glow beyond the city, turned, and began to walk toward it. Word traveled faster than vertibirds. By noon, the Minutemen lit their signal at the castle. By afternoon, raiders in Quincy fired flares and ran. By sundown, the Brotherhood of Steel had an assembly beneath the airship, shadowing the airport. I heard the orders secondhand. Observe the target, do not engage, prepare Liberty Prime. Kong crossed downtown at dusk. He stepped over a bus that still sang old jingles when the wind hit it. He steadied himself on a toppled tower, peeled a billboard from the concrete, and found a faded ad for a smiling family with a giant banana split. He pressed the paper to his nose and held it there for a long moment, before letting it drift away like ash. He didn't hate us or love us. He was trying to remember a world that had died before he arrived. At Bunker Hill, the caravans cleared their Brahmin. Kessler watched from the tower as Kong paused by the spire and traced it with a finger. He hummed low, scattering pigeons like smoke, and then moved on. When he reached the river, gunners fired a single rocket that hissed against his shoulder and burst in dirty light. Kong staggered, then plucked the slab the shooter stood on and flicked it toward their rooftop nest. The nest vanished. He didn't check for bodies. He kept walking. The city learned a rule. If you left him alone, he left you alone. If you bit, he crushed without ceremony. Night deepened, and the glow on the horizon brightened. The glowing sea breathed like a furnace. Kong entered the dead woods where trunks stood like spears. I followed at a distance, riding in the shadow of a smashed APC. Every step he took made the Geiger counter needle climb until it pinned. The air tasted like pennies. He reached the crater's edge and stopped, looking down at the dust. He took a handful, let it fall through his fingers, and watched it spark. Then he pressed that glow against an old scar along his ribs, as if the radiation itself were medicine, and stepped fully into the sea. His fur lit along the edges, not on fire, but the way a ghoul's skin lights from within when the rads get high. A slow pulse ran along his arms and spine. His breath changed from low to thunder. He didn't weaken. He drank the radiation the way a Brahmin drinks a stream. I took shelter beneath an overpass as the hot wind stripped paint and skin. From there I watched him wade through green ponds, saw bark lift off trees like scabs, and bones rotate in the water as if listening. Every story says radiation kills, and also that it remakes. Ghouls know both truths. Super mutants know the same but worse. Kong taught me a third truth. Sometimes radiation remembers what you were and makes more of it. He came out of the sea at dawn. His fur had hardened into plates along the shoulders, not metal or stone, but something like horn. The light caught in threads between them, his eyes clearer, his steps heavier. He flexed his fingers and the knuckles cracked like distant mines. Vertibirds appeared before I saw them. 3 in a wedge, gun pods armed, searchlights on. A knight's voice boomed through a loud hailer. Unauthorized entity, remain in place. Kong raised his head, listened, then lowered it and kept walking toward the airport. The birds swept low, firing neat seams of tracers across the sand. Kong turned his left shoulder into the fire. Sparks rolled off the plates. He reached up, caught the middle bird by its landing frame, and swung it into the next. Both crashed into the shore and burned. The third climbed fast. Kong let the wrecks burn, looked at the airship, and kept walking. The Brotherhood fell back to the runway. Paladins lined up with Gorse rifles while scribes powered ancient pylons. On the deck, a commander gave the order. If the target reaches the perimeter, deploy Liberty Prime. I'd seen Prime walk once. The ground itself tried to flee. Prime was a sermon in steel, a relic that called you commie while tearing down your home to reach you. You see him and understand why the old world died. Kong reached the taxiway, paused, and looked at the river, at the airship's shadow on the water, then down at a yellow toy boat in the mud. He lifted it gently, set it afloat, and tapped it once so it spun in circles. He watched for a moment, then rose and stepped toward the runway. Minutemen lit sparklers on the castle walls to warn the city. Some settlers cheered, others prayed. One old ghoul laughed and said the world was trying out new gods. Far below the airship, in clean rooms that never saw sun, the Institute watched through their screens. They tracked Kong's heat signature, bone density, and rad saturation. They already had a plan. Tag him with a relay dart, teleport samples, and build something better. The railroad watched too, whispering that maybe he was a person, because he held that toy like it mattered, because he ignored revenge when it called. Raiders wanted his head for the Mass Pike overpass. The children of Atom argued whether he was prophet or thief of holy light. I stayed with the crowd near the causeway, imagining the point where ape and machine would meet. The Brotherhood commander's voice thundered through the harbor. Deploying Liberty Prime! The airship deck shook, cables screamed. Prime descended through smoke, landed on one knee, and rose like a monument uncapped. He faced Kong. His eyes blazed with the light of a past that never existed. Kong squared his shoulders, tested his footing, and for the first time looked small, not weak, just measured against a different kind of giant. Prime spoke first. Democracy is non-negotiable. Kong tilted his head, searching for meaning. Communism is a temporary setback. Kong blinked and stepped forward. The Brotherhood opened fire. Blue needles burned holes in the new plates on his shoulder and chest. Kong turned, letting the armor take it, then ripped a jet bridge from the ground and swung. It smashed a paladin platform. 2 suits of power armor tumbled like beetles. Kong tossed the bridge aside and looked up at Prime. Prime lifted one foot and brought it down. The shock traveled into my bones. He grabbed a Fat Man shell, reared back, and threw. Kong leaped, yes, leaped, and caught the bomb mid-air. It detonated in his palms. The shockwave cleared the runway of dust and blood. He sailed backward into the shallows and vanished in foam. For a breath we thought he was dead. Then the foam lifted and he rose, hands glowing, forearm plates fused together like cooled glass. He hissed seawater over them, sending up steam that remade the fog. He flexed his fused hands and seemed to understand. Radiation didn't just harden him. Heat and impact welded him. He could heal into armor. Have you ever wondered which corruption would claim him first? Radiation that feeds him, FEV that twists him, or the hunger for war that lives in every faction here? Tell me in the comments. I want to hear the wager you'd make. A white line flashed up his shoulder, a relay tag from the Institute. Kong flinched as his image stuttered like heat haze, then snapped back. Another dart struck his thigh, another light, another stutter. Prime advanced, repeating words no creature could understand. Kong backed into deeper water, then dragged himself forward again, wanting the machine that had hurt and taught him in the same breath. The Brotherhood commander ordered a brief ceasefire. If the scientists could lift him, fine. If not, unleash everything. The Institute tuned their models, revised the scatter risk, prepared a holding cell that had never contained anything so alive. Kong felt the pull of the relay and planted his fists into the tarmac, cracking it. He leaned against the world itself. The stutter drew him an inch. His arms dragged him back an inch more. He chose to stay and lunged. Prime met him with a punch that could fold a skyscraper, but Kong slipped inside the arc and hugged the arm. He locked his fingers under Prime's shoulder plate and squeezed. Metal bowed, rivets fell like hail. Prime tried to wrench free, but Kong's feet dug into the runway's ribs. Kong slid his grip from shoulder to forearm and squeezed again. The fused plate of his hand bit into the metal and left a fossil-deep print. Then Prime made an unexpected choice. He opened the warhead cradle, dropped a shell into Kong's grip and squeezed it himself, trying to explode the bomb between them. The blast tore them apart. Prime stepped back, missing half a forearm. Kong skidded, driving a hand into the concrete to stop. The harbour threw a wave across the runway like a drunk referee. Kong rose, looked past Prime to the city, then to the castle walls and the shining hole in the sky where the relay light waited. He moved not toward Prime, but along the runway toward the hangars, ripping open a door and dragging out a rusted crawler truck. He flung it behind him. It crashed into Prime's knees and slowed him. Kong tore sheet metal from the roof, rolled it like cloth, wrapped it around his forearm plates, and crimped the edges with teeth and hands. He forged braces in seconds, then turned back to face the machine. Prime walked forward through fire. Kong walked through steam. The runway between them became a scar. The Institute fired the last tag. It struck the back of his neck. The light grew blinding. Kong's outline thinned, doubled, tugged like a hook. He lifted both braced arms, crossed them before his throat, planted his feet, and bared his teeth at the air. The light bent around him and failed. The tag sputtered and died. Kong tore it free and crushed it to powder. Prime reached him again. This time, Kong stepped inside and hammered his braced forearms into Prime's chest. Once, twice, a third time that dented the plate into the generator cradle. Prime's eyes flickered. His voice looped. Democracy is... The Brotherhood line opened fire without orders. A Paladin's missile cooked off when a Minuteman's shot struck the launcher. The Paladin became a brief sun. Kong drove Prime back another step. Prime tore off one bracer. Kong ripped the antenna crown from Prime's head, leaving it to spark on a cable. Then Kong roared, not rage or victory, but like a mountain shaking off snow. His chest, where the first bomb had exploded, had healed into something new. A ridge down the sternum, channels glowing with gathered heat. He slammed that ridge into Prime's chest. Light burst white. Something inside Prime broke in a clean line. You could hear it in the scrape of his feet. The Institute aborted their plan. The Brotherhood called fallback to tertiary positions. The Minutemen didn't cheer. They knew this wasn't victory, but the birth of a new kind of storm. Kong took 3 deep breaths, looked at Prime, at the airship, at the castle. He didn't chase or climb. He turned away from both and walked along the shore toward downtown, moving with purpose, like someone who had learned a map. We followed, glad and afraid to be alive. The bridge of iron bones groaned beneath us. In the city, walls had ears and alleys had teeth, but Kong didn't hunt the watchers. He searched for towers, signals, the beating heart of power. The Freedom Trail led him to the old state house. He followed the cracked red line, sniffed at the door, smelled the underground, and moved on. At the radio station, he stood outside, listening to a soft voice beg the city for calm. He touched the wall with his knuckles and kept walking. On a rooftop, he spotted a relay sensor, tore it free, and crushed it like grit between his fingers. By noon, he stood on the narrow isthmus leading to Spectacle Island. He could see the castle to the west, the airport to the east, the glow to the south. Turning in a slow circle, he thumped his chest once, and the sound rolled over the water. He had chosen a home. The island would be his nest if we allowed it, the harbour his moat. Every faction would soon try to make that choice for him. If you had his strength for a single day in this world, which banner would you carry? Brotherhood, Minutemen, Institute, or none at all? Tell me in the comments. Your answer will say what kind of world you hope to build. Kong bent the mast of a dead ship into a new shape, drove it into the sand like a spear, and hung the sheet metal bracer on it like a flag. He sat down in the shade of nothing and watched the city watch him back. The first day ended where it had begun. On the water, with a giant who didn't want to rule but didn't know how to be small. With a machine that couldn't stop preaching. With a city that now had to decide whether a monster who protects himself could ever be asked to protect anyone else. He closed his eyes. He didn't sleep. He listened and waited for the next test. For the next wound he could turn into armor. For whoever would dare to teach him a lesson and learn one instead. Days passed before the next confrontation. From the mainland, we could see Kong's silhouette rising like a tower against the haze. He sat on Spectacle Island at first, silent, gathering driftwood, rusted hull plates, and entire buses from the harbour floor. He shaped them into barriers. He didn't build upward like men do. He built wide, a ring of protection and warning. Fish began returning to the shallows near him. Mirelurks avoided it. Even the fog seemed slower there. Scavers told stories that the giant was taming the water. Some said he was training it, One merchant swore he saw Kong dip his hand in the bay and lift it again full of glowing fish that swam like threads of light through his fingers. But no one dared to land on the island. Every time a small boat came too close, Kong would stand, watching in silence until it turned away. He didn't roar or throw stones. He didn't need to. His presence was its own law. In Diamond City, the mayor met with Minutemen envoys. The question wasn't whether Kong was a threat. It was who could control him first. Preston argued that Kong might defend settlers if approached carefully. The Brotherhood branded that talk naive. The Institute called it inefficient. Even the Railroad debated whether Kong deserved freedom if he wasn't human. Each group made plans, emissaries, traps, experiments, weapons. None agreed on what he was. Meanwhile, Kong wandered. He crossed bridges that no human could bear, his steps rattling the skeletons of skyscrapers. Sometimes, at night, settlers claimed to see him gazing at old billboards. Ads of zoos, of jungles, of animals smiling for crowds long dead. He would stare until dawn, then walk away before the morning light reached his eyes. One morning, a storm rolled from the north. It tore the rusted ships from their moorings and threw them at the coast. Kong stood in the shallows, catching what he could. He lifted one broken ferry like a child saving a toy and pushed it back into calm water. He saved nothing inside, only the shape. He didn't understand that those were ghosts of metal, not beasts. He was protecting memory, not life. The Enclave saw their chance. From a hidden base in the mountains west of the city, they launched a new prototype, an unmanned drone rigged with concentrated FEV gas. The plan was simple: expose the giant, accelerate mutation, turn him into a weapon or a corpse. When the drone reached the island, it circled once and vented its green mist into the wind. At first, Kong ignored it. Then he sniffed the air and froze. The mist rolled across his fur, seeping into scars that still glowed faintly from the glowing sea. His muscles clenched, veins rose like cords. He beat his chest once, hard enough to scatter the gas, but not before it entered him. He dropped to one knee, clawing at the sand. The ground beneath his hand sank a foot from the pressure. The sound he made wasn't a roar or a cry. It was both, fused by pain. For hours he stayed there, shuddering, steam pouring from his body. The sea boiled near him. Fish floated belly up. The sand turned black under his knuckles. When the clouds cleared, Kong stood again, taller, broader. The plates along his back had split into jagged ridges. His eyes, once dark amber, now shone faintly green. He looked toward the city, as if aware something had changed inside him, and unsure if it was gift or curse. The Minutemen sent a small boat to investigate. 3 volunteers, all brave or foolish. They found the island littered with bones of sea creatures and twisted metal melted smooth by heat. Kong was gone. Only footprints the size of swimming pools led toward the mainland. The wind still smelled of acid and ozone. He appeared again 2 nights later, this time near Quincy. Raiders there ruled from the overpasses, extorting caravans that passed through. Kong didn't sneak or announce himself. He stepped from the dark like a moving hill. The raiders opened fire with everything they had. Missiles, miniguns, plasma. It didn't matter. Bullets sparked harmlessly off his new armor. Plasma only blackened the fur before sliding away. He reached the first overpass, tore it from its supports, and used it to sweep the others down like cobwebs. When it was over, the survivors ran. Kong didn't chase them. He turned his gaze on the burning ruins and watched the flames. For the first time, I thought I saw recognition. He seemed to understand what fire was meant to do. To cleanse, to warn, to teach. He stayed until the last flame died, then walked north, leaving the ruins silent except for the crackle of cooling steel. The Brotherhood saw the aftermath from their airship. The commander ordered reconnaissance, but no engagement. Privately, they began building new weapons calibrated for him. Radiation lances, sonic disruptors, things designed for killing gods. Prime was still under repair, half its torso fused into slag from their last battle. They swore next time the machine would not fail. Down in the Institute, scientists debated the results of the failed relay capture. Some argued to leave the creature alone. Others, the ambitious ones, saw potential. They studied the FEV signatures left in the air, discovered the compound that had merged with his blood. Adaptive stability, they called it. The first organism to take FEV and survive without madness. If they could replicate it, they could make a generation immune to corruption. They planned a new test. The Railroad intercepted fragments of that conversation. They didn't understand the science, only the fear in the words. They saw the shape of another atrocity forming. Desdemona ordered field agents to watch for signs of the giant near any Institute facility. If they want to harvest him, she said, they'll have to go through us. And so the factions converged again. Kong had no idea they existed, not in the way they plotted. He knew only that the world around him whispered and moved. His senses, sharpened by mutation, let him hear the hum of buried machines and the pulse of power through cables beneath the streets. He followed those sounds like a song. They led him toward the glowing heart of Boston. I followed too. Curiosity kills slower than radiation, but it still kills. I stayed close enough to see, but far enough not to matter. Kong moved through streets where even super mutants feared to tread. He crouched to peer into windows, where skeletons sat with cards still in their hands. Sometimes he touched the glass, gently, as if waiting for them to blink. He wasn't hunting. He was learning what loneliness looked like. Then came the night the Institute tried again. They built a relay array in the ruins of an old stadium, hidden beneath layers of holographic cover. As Kong passed nearby, they triggered it. A dome of white light swallowed him whole. For a second, the world held its breath. Then the dome shattered like glass. The shockwave flattened the stadium's remains, throwing dust and twisted rebar into the sky. Kong stood at the center, unharmed but angry now. He tore what remained of the relay core from the ground and hurled it east, where it landed near the harbor and detonated. The explosion lit the horizon brighter than dawn. For the first time, I heard him roar with purpose. The sound rolled through the city like thunder trapped in a tunnel. Within hours, the Brotherhood launched vertibirds. The Minutemen scrambled defenses. Even the children of Atom emerged from their craters to worship. But Kong didn't attack. He went silent again, moving through the smoke toward the river. He followed the bridges, dragging his knuckles along the steel. Sparks fell behind him like fireflies. By morning, he reached Cambridge. The ruins there still held one working reactor, guarded by a small Brotherhood detachment. The soldiers opened fire on sight. Kong ignored them. He reached into the reactor chamber through the collapsed roof and drew out the fusion core, glowing like a second sun in his palm. He studied it, curious. Then he pressed it against his chest. The plates along his ribs opened slightly and the light flowed in. When he pulled his hand away, the glow remained inside him, pulsing steady as a heartbeat. He had absorbed the power itself. Not radiation this time, pure fusion. His eyes flickered with its rhythm. He turned toward the east again, toward the airport. Every faction read the signs their own way. The Brotherhood called him the new enemy of mankind. The Institute called him a biological reactor. The Minutemen called him a test of faith. The Children of Atom called him a saint of the new dawn. For me, watching from a roof, he looked like the future none of us were ready for. He reached the airport ruins by evening. Liberty Prime still stood there, half repaired, arms braced against scaffolds. Engineers fled as Kong approached. He walked to the edge of the runway and stopped, looking up at the machine that once tried to destroy him. Then slowly, he placed the fusion core he had absorbed onto the ground. The air shimmered from its heat. He didn't attack, he offered. The Brotherhood didn't understand. They saw a gesture of peace as a trick. A paladin ordered fire. Kong raised one arm, shielding his chest. Gauss rounds slammed into him. He didn't move, didn't strike back. He waited, enduring the storm. Then, when the rifles clicked empty, he dropped his arm and walked away. That moment changed everything. For the first time, the Wasteland saw a creature stronger than any machine, choosing not to kill. News spread to every settlement, every bunker. Some began to call him the Great Guardian. Others whispered, the Silent God. The name didn't matter. What mattered was that in a world built on fear, something powerful had finally decided to hold its hand. But peace never lasts in the Wasteland. The Enclave, furious that their FEV test hadn't produced the monster they wanted, prepared one final strike. From their bunker in the mountains, they launched Project Atlas, a bioweapon built from the same genetic code as Kong, but refined for aggression. Taller, meaner, without restraint. It would land in the ruins within days, and somewhere, deep beneath MIT, the Institute's director made his own decision. If we can't control the ape, he said, then we'll control the humans who worship him. Their plan was worse than war. It was conversion. The Wasteland was about to learn that sometimes monsters bring balance, and mankind breaks it. 3 nights later, the wind carried a smell no one could mistake, burning oil mixed with wet earth and ozone. It rolled across the Wasteland like a warning. Settlers near the Charles River saw flashes in the clouds. Raiders fled from their camps. Even the ghouls hiding in subway tunnels grew restless. Something enormous was moving, not walking like Kong did, but tearing the ground apart with each stride. They called it Project Atlas. Built by the Enclave from tissue samples scavenged during the first battle at the airport, fused with artificial muscle, and driven mad by constant doses of FEV. Where Kong had learned patience, Atlas had been taught rage. Its body was a patchwork of organic and mechanical parts. Hydraulic lines ran through its chest like veins. Its skull, half metal, half flesh, glowed with the reflection of reactor light. And unlike Kong, it had a voice, an unsteady metallic growl that repeated one word, over and over. Conquer. The first to see it die were the gunners at their outpost near the bridge. They didn't stand a chance. Atlas crushed their turrets and burned their camps with a built-in plasma vent that opened from its chest like a furnace door. By the time I reached the hill overlooking the city, the horizon behind Atlas glowed orange. Its eyes were fixed on the harbor, on Kong's island. Kong sensed him before we did. From my vantage point near the castle walls, I watched him rise from his resting place. The water rolled back from his legs. He faced the mainland, posture calm but ready. For a moment, the city was silent. Then, from far away, a tremor rippled through the streets, windows shaking loose their last fragments of glass. The earth itself seemed to prepare for what was coming. When Atlas emerged from the ruins, every faction watched. Brotherhood airships hung above the skyline, their searchlights sweeping the clouds. The Institute monitored from below, screens flickering as readings broke their instruments. Even the children of Atom gathered along the shore, praying to the glow that danced between the two giants. Kong stepped forward first. His shadow stretched over the water, merging with the wrecks of ships still half buried in sand. Atlas roared, a sound like collapsing machinery, and charged. The ground split under its feet. Kong met the impact head-on, their collision sending a shockwave across the bay that knocked raiders from rooftops and shattered the windows of Diamond City. For a moment, all anyone could see was dust and steam. Then shapes moved inside it, massive silhouettes striking, blocking, grappling. Atlas's claws tore at Kong's shoulders, ripping fur and plate alike. But where the claws drew blood, the wounds sealed in seconds. Kong's mutations, the ones born of radiation and FEV, were working faster than ever. Each strike only taught his body how to survive the next one. Atlas didn't tire. It couldn't. Its lungs were reactors. Its heart was a pump of steel. Every movement fed its own fury. When Kong threw him into the shallows, Atlas rose immediately, pulling a sunken ship from the mud and swinging it like a blade. The metal hull screamed through the air and crashed into Kong's ribs, denting the fused plates. Kong staggered back, caught the ship with one hand, and crushed it until sparks burst from between his fingers. On the airship, Brotherhood paladins debated whether to fire. The commander hesitated. He knew if their missiles missed, the whole city would burn. Down below, Preston Garvey stood at the castle wall, telescope in hand. "Let them fight," he whispered. "Maybe for once the Wasteland can settle its own scores." The fight dragged toward the harbor. Waves crashed against ruined docks as both titans struggled for footing. Atlas's plasma vents hissed open again, bathing the water in molten light. Kong responded with a roar that shook the surface into ripples. He plunged his arm into the sea, scooping up gallons of water, and hurled it straight into the open vents. The plasma flared, then exploded outward, blasting Atlas backward onto the shore. Steam covered everything. The smell of metal and burnt ozone filled the air. When it cleared, Kong was already moving, charging, fists low, eyes glowing with the same internal fusion light as before. He slammed into Atlas before it could stand. The impact buried both giants halfway into the sand. They grappled there, locked together like warring gods. Atlas's claws found purchase on Kong's chest. It tore deep, reaching for the glowing ridge beneath the plates. For a heartbeat, the light dimmed. Kong staggered. Atlas pressed harder, jaws snapping around his shoulder. The sound was like grinding stone, but then something changed. The glow in Kong's chest flared again, brighter, steadier. The plates around his heart opened slightly, revealing the fusion energy inside. Radiation bled from the wound, not as poison, but as power. The air shimmered with heat. The water hissed away. The veins across Kong's arms lit like veins of molten gold. He grabbed Atlas by the jaw and pried it open. Then he pressed his burning chest directly against the metal side of its head. The sound was deafening. A hiss, a groan, a scream that no creature could sustain. When the light faded, Atlas's half-metal skull had melted into slag. Its body convulsed once, then fell still. Kong stepped back, chest still glowing, breath heavy. The harbor steamed around him. He stood over the fallen Titan and let the waves wash against his legs. For a long moment, no one moved. The Brotherhood lowered their guns. The Minutemen cheered softly, afraid to shout. Even the Children of Atom bowed. Then Kong knelt. He placed one hand on Atlas's chest, as if in respect. He didn't roar this time. He simply stayed there, head lowered, the glow from his body dimming with each breath. When he finally stood again, he looked toward the city, not with challenge, but with exhaustion. The Institute tried one last time to act. A relay flare burst open near the water's edge, and a voice echoed from hidden speakers. "We can help you," it said. "You can survive forever with us." Kong tilted his head toward the voice. Then he reached down, picked up a piece of Atlas's melted skull, and flung it into the source of the sound. The entire relay hub collapsed into the sea. That was his answer. Days turned to weeks. Kong stayed near the island, silent, almost still. The water around Spectacle Island grew strangely clear. Plants began to sprout along the shore, green and bright in a way nothing in the Commonwealth had been in 200 years. Radiation readings there dropped lower than anywhere else. It was as if his body absorbed the poison from the land itself. The factions adapted. The Minutemen declared the island off-limits, calling it a sanctuary. The Brotherhood respected the boundary for once. The Institute vanished, its signals gone silent. Some said Kong destroyed their final relay tower beneath the harbor. Others whispered they went into hiding, afraid of the giant that could not be remade. I visited the island once, months later. The air was different there, cleaner, warmer. I saw him sleeping under the twisted hull of an old tanker. His chest rose and fell slow and steady, the faint light beneath his ribs pulsing like the heart of the world. I left quietly, not wanting to wake him. We learned to live with him, the way people once lived beneath mountains or near storms. He wasn't ruler or god. He was reminder of strength that could protect but never fully belong, of power that refused to destroy. The Wasteland didn't become safe, but it became different. Raiders avoided the coast. Settlements spread again along the water. People whispered that as long as the giant rested, no bomb would ever fall here again. Sometimes, on quiet nights, we still see him move. He walks along the shoreline, pushing sunken ships away from the docks. He touches the broken buildings with a gentleness that seems impossible for something his size. And when the moon rises, he looks at it the way the old world once looked at hope. I think he remembers what the world was meant to be, and maybe, just maybe, he's guarding it for whoever dares to rebuild.